This is a short piece I wrote called The Egg. It starts with an egg. The egg is opaque, transparent, blue, orange, and red. It swirls, reforms, goes for a paragraph or two, deletes itself, and starts over. It pecks its way out bit by bit, but if it's helped along by larger fingers, it will die. Sparks surround it, and a masked gossamer wing pokes out. It flames out, dies, gathers oxygen, and becomes new again and again, but it always starts as an egg. The egg can be boiled, fried, scrambled, or it can turn into a chicken. Or it can be much larger than you previously imagined and turn into an ostrich. Maybe if even bigger, it can turn into a brontosaurus. But if the whole fact that brontosauruses are currently extinct bothers you, then it can just be a platypus. Although I'm pretty sure platypuses aren't as big as ostriches. But if there was a weird contest, I think the platypus would win. So, let's say a platypus. A platypus comes out of the egg and proceeds the rest of his or her life as a platypus, unless he got boiled, fried, or scrambled before he could get that far. If that's the case, all he can hope for is tastiness and excellent presentation. It starts with an egg. The egg has been boiled, fried, or scrambled, and it gets everywhere. The pans and the plate, and the bowl if it was scrambled, must be soaked immediately, or you will, without a doubt, spend the rest of your life scrubbing it off. Or you won't, and you will no longer have a sanitary pan. Despite this, you will have an egg. It may be too runny or too chewy or just straight up burnt, but you will take this egg with your spatula and slap it on the plate. It's breakfast, probably. It could be lunch. It's almost never dinner unless you are sick or running out of groceries. It might be sort of tasty, but it almost always needs some hot sauce. Presentation isn't even on the table. Your presentation is the plate. That's all you can hope for. It's strictly business here. Point is, it starts with an egg. So, she grows up a platypus. This would be rough. She'd be minding her own business when people would tell her that God sneezed when he made her. This is not something that would be easy to hear. This would make her question her place in the world. Despite the fact that people would see her as God's mistake, the real truth of the matter is she's made it. She was deliberately created through an act of magic in biology, because everyone knows that it's not just about science, it's about magic too. It's about the spark, the change that swirls and shimmers. Scientists mistaken for sorcerers throughout the years, but these days more often it's the other way around. The platypus started as an egg. This is the point. The point is she was created and she lived, and she has to overcome these things that people tell her and find a rule and philosophy that works for her. Unless God sneeze works for her, and maybe it does. As God sneeze, there's always something to make up for, something to prove. She will not be a regretful mistake, like last night, but she will be a happy mistake, like penicillin. Maybe she lived her life surrounded by other platypuses. There would be a small amount of argument on what they should call themselves. The majority of them would say they are called platypuses. The word is as large and awkward and clunky as they are. However, the ambitious animals among the reeds downtown would throw up their bills in disdain and say, "No, we are platypi. We are creatures of elegance and beauty." The platypuses would roll their eyes, but not argue. Far away on a particular mossy rock would sit the two wisest and most ancient, named Aristotle and Euripides. Aristotle would turn to Euripides and say, "Well, they are both wrong, aren't they? We are platypodes, that's what our fathers called us." But Euripides would shake his bill slowly and say, "If none of them knows that, then how can it still be correct? How can something only two believe possibly be true?" The two sit quietly, because being wise and ancient does not mean knowing all the answers. Maybe she spent her existence alone, but not missing company, because it never existed. In this case, she is not platypus, but only herself. Maybe she had great amounts of crawfish and worms to eat. Maybe she didn't. She came from an egg, and one day, maybe, through an act of magic in biology, she may create another egg. Maybe that platypus will make it without getting fried and live their life. Or maybe the circuit will backfire and be polarized. Maybe the platypus's egg will birth an ostrich. The ostrich will grow, knowing it's not a normal-looking platypus, but a very large and funny-looking one. His little friends dive deep for crawfish, but he sinks, hitting the bottom, and he has to be rescued. He tries again and again, and never manages to swim properly. It isn't fair that life is so much easier for them. He will look to the stars and wonder why he's such a lousy platypus. One day, he might be running along the water's edge and meet another platypus who looks just like him. The other will say, "Come run with me," and he will. He will say farewell to the platypuses, pirate podes. He will soon learn that he is called ostrich, and will smile to himself at the awkwardness of the word ostriches. But as we've always known, it starts with an egg. The egg was created through magic and biology, like oil and water sliding against each other. Sometimes it's mostly biology, like ladder snapping rung by rung together that only occasionally sparks. Other times it's mostly magic, like an ostrich born from a platypus that finds other ostriches through its own instinct. One never fully excludes the other. The definition of one is always partially dependent on the other. One is yin to the other's yang. With the egg, there is growth, reaction, male and female, but there is also spontaneity, perfect symmetry, miracle, and orgasm. The egg as always reappears. It looks like the all-encompassing and the void. It leaps, rolls, vanishes, and cracks. It gets rubbed out with a large pink eraser and drawn again with a yellow marker. It is balled up, thrown in the trash, only to be smoothed out again by more sympathetic hands. It explodes out of its shell like popcorn, pressure both relieved and contained. It becomes hazy and refocuses again. It starts with an egg.